Defend Our Health, a nonprofit public health organization, hosted a press conference in Augusta today in support of a bill focused on phasing out plastic pollution in the state by getting rid of certain packaging materials. They say the bill would phase out two problematic plastics, PVC, also known as vinyl, and polystyrenes in packaging. Instead of the polystyrene foam peanuts that pollute the environment for years, they say an alternative is a starch-based peanut that dissolves in water. They say the bill would also make recycling plastic beverage bottles easier and better.
Right now, our recycling stream gets contaminated by problem plastics, and that makes it more difficult to recycle. It reduces the value of the recycled material. It creates toxic byproducts that may threaten human health. So the driving impetus for phasing out these unnecessary problematic plastics is to improve recycling and to get closer to a truly circular economy that doesn't have toxic byproducts all along the way.
If the bill passes, it would prevent the sale or distribution of prohibited plastic packaging in the state starting January 1st, 2025.